Oh boy, time now for another episode of Mr. Nailsin Sunday Comics. And I decided to do a bit of a special series, if you will, as we, the latest MCU spectacular is in theaters. The Eternals, yeah. The more interesting story as far as the film version goes is the behind-the-scenes story of an apparent war between Kevin Feige and Disney head Bob Chapek. It appears with all the shill media sites giving really nasty reviews about the film. It seems that Chapek has pulled back Disney's sugar daddy muscle, and so this film will not get the protections that other lackluster Marvel films had received, Captain Marvel and such. And it really needs all the help it can get because, if for nothing else, these are characters people are not familiar with. But the Marvel brand is strong so far. So that could help it limp along, but it's not getting the usual protection that other Marvel films that really just aren't that good. They're not all spectacular wonders, They've had some really good ones, and some are really actually quite bad. But Disney muscled in on that and protected them and whatnot. Anyway, it's odd because if everyone is so devoted to their supposed values, this film checks off quite a bit of politically correct checklist boxes, and yet they still noticed it's not that great of a film. How about that? That's amazing, huh? But one of the problems for the Eternals is, as I mentioned earlier, is that they're not as well known, even among comic book people, because it never really caught on. It was an attempt by Jack Kirby revisiting something he attempted with New Gods over at DC, and then he returned to Marvel and pursued another angle on this idea of gods and his interest in mythology, and a bit of the ancient astronaut theories and stuff like that about, aliens could have inspired our myths about gods and whatnot. And so that's, the jumping off point, and that was the impetus of it all. And so let's take a look at the Eternals, shall we? Now, I'm not going to do every page of the comic book because, copyright and everything. But I'll give you an overview and a look at the actual real story of the Eternals. Later on, maybe I'll look at the later versions. The one I was more familiar with in my youth was the miniseries of the 80s. And then, of course, later on, there was Neil Gaiman's attempt at reviving the series, which is what I think they're using more as source material for the film, and just throwing Jack Kirby's name around, and however inadvertently disrespecting his memory. But, that's the way it is. So anyway, the Eternals, when gods walked the earth. So here we are with this giant robot-looking thing, which is like a statue or what have you, as these people investigate a tomb, or ancient ruins, as it were. So, look, there's Mr. Stark from, the Starks from Game of Thrones. Yeah, I was thinking Tony Stark, but, what's his name? Who probably would have made a pretty good Superman, seeing him all flying around and shooting beams out of his eyes and stuff. But this is what he was supposed to look like. Something along that nature, yeah. So anyway, we found it. The tomb of the space gods. And they're not dead. Look to the stars. The gods are coming back. Wow. So first issue, the start of Jack Kirby's long-awaited cosmic series. So here we go. Stan Lee presents The Eternals. Is man alone in the universe? Every myth and legend to emerge from the distant past points to a strange visitation from the stars. Beings of great power have been on this earth and then departed. Who are they? What did they do here? Where have they gone? Well, back in space, I guess. These awesome questions create the background for this exciting new saga of a day which lies ahead. The Day of Answers. The Day of the Gods. Dun, 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 pum, pum, pum. So, very much, well, from a different angle of the cover, here we have these ancient ruins and this giant, head. It is. It's some sort of helmet, and this is in keeping with theories about, artifacts and whatnot from like the Incas and what have you. And a lot of people look at that, hey, it looks like a space helmet or, robots or even spaceships and stuff. And so that's the inspiration for what Kirby's doing here. So,
You found it, Ike. You're positively uncanny.
He's not an X-Men. Conceived, written, and drawn by Jack Kirby. Inked by, these guys. And here we go again. He's using inspiration from artwork from the Incas and whatnot. That looks like there's quite a few imagery like this where it looks like someone's riding in a spaceship or some vehicle of some sort. So anyway, beneath the high plains of the Andes, the secret place, like its builders, has been lost to history. But now it lies exposed once more, dwarfing its discoverers with cyclopean grandeur, I guess. My every instinct led me to the right passages, Dr. Damien. I'll record it on film for you right now. Hey, you know what? The Eternals could have been a found footage film.
The legendary Chamber of the Gods. Its dimensions are overwhelming.
It's all here as you predicted, Father. The galaxy plaque of the Incas, their space god, and his craft carved in stone.
But apparently he needed some guys to carry it or something. I don't know. Needed to give it a push. Maybe it got bogged down in the mud. And, yeah. Or they're wheeling it into the repair shop, I don't know. And more artifacts. H. Great Artifact in the Giant Chamber brings home the astounding revelation of a visit from the stars. The intruders continue on in breathless wonder.
Outer space technology translated in terms of mythology. Incredible.
This is unmistakably a 3-passenger descent vehicle. It seems the gods had a variety of equipment. It's unmistakable, huh? Well, it's a comic book, so he's exactly right. That's what it is. So I'm skipping some pages here. You're not going to show it all. So here we have Dr. Damien wakes from the spell of the awe-inspiring tableau and sets to work.
Quickly, Margot. I must have the tape recorder. What I have to say will electrify the scientific community.
Thanks to Ike Harris. We may have made the greatest archaeological find in history.
Perhaps the true story of all which has gone before.
That takes in a lot of territory, Ike. Your statement covers all of human history. Are you serious about this claim you just made?
I refer not only to human history, but also to divergent human history. There were others.
Do you realize what you're saying, young man? You're intimating that the human species is sharing this world with related forms of life.
Well, yeah, monkeys and chimps and stuff. No, that's not what he's talking about. That's exactly what I'm saying, Doctor. Homo sapiens has relatives.
That's a wild theory, Ike. You can't believe in such a fantasy.
Ike Harris, you've been a disturbing enigma to us ever since you joined our effort to seek out this chamber.
I probably should have looked into your background, and I just let some stranger in sunglasses come along.
Me and my young daughter, I guess I was a bit irresponsible. But anyway, you never struck us as being the type of young man who is given to this kind of drivel.
You're wrong on both counts, Doctor. I am given to drivel. No, this is not drivel, and I am not a young man by your standards. So we're going to jump ahead again here. And here we're in the middle of a conflict between the villains of the Eternal story, the Deviants. So we get introduced to them, but here we have an unfortunate Air Force pilot comes across the Deviants and their spacecraft or flying craft, what have you, and they can't allow humans to know of their existence. Then white-hot bolts envelop the plane. The pilot screams as his unseen companions reach him only by voice. Blue Jay, what's happening? What's happening?
Don't know. Got to eject.
An explosive burst sends the pilot and his seat hurtling from the plane, but there's no escaping the bright and terrible force which clings to its victim. So he's fried. Like many others who have vanished in areas of mystery across the earth, the pilot is swallowed in a flare-up, which consumes his plane as well. So this is kind of offered as an explanation for the Bermuda Triangle and stuff like that, you know. Those who will come to search in vain and ponder fruitlessly about what happened here will never see the bizarre source of the tragedy. Yeah, this thing here. Down it goes. Nor will they find its makers and their hidden undersea sanctuaries. Lower the disruptor. It is done. Stand by to close the silo cover. Be quick about it. For in an enclave beneath the ocean floor. The area is clear of intruders, sire. Your journey will proceed without detection from above. Don't leave yet, dog. And here's kind of the main character of the Deviants that is throughout the Eternal stories. And he is in the film, but I think he's just going to be another CGI lizard. Yeah. But here he is. Look out. Oh, what a cool happening guy, you know. He's got his sunshades and a goatee. So... Hey, well, come on, MCU, get your act together. You're missing out. So, anyhow, here we find a gathering of strange beings, a royal court of the grotesque, and the misshapen, the inhabitants of a domain unknown to man. You've forgotten in whose presence you are, dog.
He resembles a human. He's not like us deviants at all.
We're producing more of these unstable creatures every day. No true deviant would fail to grovel before the ruling family.
I guess she just got out of the shower. I don't know.
I crave your pardon, High Ones.
This dude's just sitting there taking it easy, having a smoke.
Dismiss him, Crow. He reminds us of the curse of our species, that we cannot breed in consistent form.
Well, if you'd stop marrying your cousins. Anyway.
Yet he, like ourselves, is a seed of the gods. Begone, Nat!
Yes, sire.
The gods. Their return is almost at hand, Crow. You know what that means? They may scourge us as they did in ancient times.
Never fear, Brother Toad. Well, it's pretty apt, huh? It could have been worse. It could have been Brother Scroat. I shall find their cosmic beacon and destroy it.
Then hasten on your journey, Crow. Go to the Inca chamber and do your duty.
Duty.
That beacon must never be activated. Ribbit.
The trip is short. My task will be accomplished within the hour.
Complacent fool! You speak like the hare who sneers at the tortoise. The Eternals may yet find the beacon before we do.
Nonsense. They've failed as we have, but this time it is we who shall succeed. Thus, I take my leave. Hey, nice Charlie Brown wallpaper pattern. Anyway, we'll skip ahead a little. And Ike Harris, it's not his real name, it fills in the humans a little more about the background, you know. Anyway, there they roam, there they live, in this great reflector which the gods left when they last departed. The devoted Inca people kept watch for their next arrival, but the gods never returned, and the Incas vanished from history. I guess the deviants got to them too, huh? Yeah.
Keep going, Ike. Tell us more, but first, tell us who you really are.
You're not one of us, are you?
Ike Harris seems to protect the silent power of the God Chamber itself. Both Margot and her father realize that he's somehow a part of the awesome truths unfolding here.
Spare us nothing. We've got to know.
Begin with your name. It's not Ike Harris, is it?
Not exactly. However, take a look at my nostrils. However, if you run both words together, you get Icarus. Instead of, Icarus, but that's what the deal is. See? Yeah. The idea was that characters like Icarus inspired characters like Icarus, and so on and so forth. You'll get into a character who's, a prototype for Zeus and all that. The only problem is that within the Marvel Universe story is that the actual gods of Zeus and Apollo all existed. So then they just had to finagle it and said, oh, well, sometimes they got mixed up. But because they live in a city called Olympia, and the gods live on Olympus, So you get the deal, but it kind of worked better if they had been the inspiration of it all. But then you had Hercules, which is pretty much a mainstream Marvel character, as far as the stories goes, between him and Thor and all that. And so they say, well, if Thor exists, then the Olympians would exist too. But I can't remember which came first. Maybe Kirby just went on ahead with his own story and didn't deal with all of that. But because they may have already introduced, like in Thor or something, Hercules and Zeus and all that. I'm not sure. But had they done it this way, it's kind of similar with what the depiction of the Asgardians, that they're actually aliens from some weird place called Asgard, which is pretty much what the movies adapted. Whereas the Eternals could have been a representation of the Olympians, but whatever, it just didn't work out that way. So anyway, I am not one of your species, yet we are related in many ways. We're cousins, so let's get it on, It all began with the coming of the gods to Earth, when it was populated only by the beasts of the field. Still, it was the presence of life which drew these cosmic beings to this planet. Their huge space vessel surveyed the land. Land ascended. So there you go. A pretty typical Kirby vehicle. How many more times can you draw that, Let's see. So he continues with the story. It was then that the gods proceeded with their mission. They chose to change the destiny of a life form new to the evolutionary chain. The ape, a specimen, was trapped and taken alive. So, it's kind of like 2001. Only instead of a big black block, it's, this spaceship kidnapping this poor ape, So only the instruments of the gods could do what was done in that momentous time. To the ape was given the cosmic chemistry that would father the races to come. Bzz, 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 bzz. So there he is. Jeez. Yeah. Well, at least it's not, the probe. In this manner, the dawn of ape became the common species, the common ancestor of three powerful new species. The deviant, an ever-changing and destructive failure. No wonder they're pissed off. I mean, look. The first king of the deviants, Lord Booger. Structurally unstable, each new generation of deviant appeared in new and monstrous ways. His lot was constant war. The human, this species bred with true balance and structure and disposition. Although he was a destroyer, yeah, because constant war is kind of his deal too, you know. The human was capable of building for peace. His kind was destined to inherit the earth. He belonged to it. The Eternal. He was more a child of the gods than of earth. He reached for the universe. The Eternals bred few in number, and were immune to time and death. Like the gods, they lived apart from all other living beings. So there you go. They're not from outer space, as apparently the movie suggests, or maybe not. You know, apparently the Eternals think they're from outer space. I don't know. Haven't seen it yet, so, you know. Like the volatile, energetic creatures they were, the deviants took to the Earth's inner depths, where they toiled ceaselessly at creating new weapons. The myths of man are filled with the terrors inspired by classes with deviants. So all your stories of demons and monsters is inspired by these nasties. See? Well, the Eternals' fashion sense originally wasn't so great. The Eternals took to the highest mountaintops. They probed the universe with their minds and developed powers which surpassed those of all other earth life. They were regarded with awe and fear. And as for the human, well, he collided with nature, the beast, his fellow man. He subdued the earth and made it his home. Although he still yearns for peace, he lives with dangers that would destroy all he has created, namely himself. Yeah. Dr. Damien and his daughter are transfixed by the import of Icarus's words. That is what the space gods wrought during their visit to Earth. So, they came back once more during the reign of the Incas, perhaps to check out the results of their experiments. That was one of many visits. The gods have... Wait! There! On the reflector screen! The ship of the gods, leaving light years in seconds. It's on its way to Earth. The beacon shall guide them. I know I can find it now. The tension mounts as the time approaches. In a water channel beneath the Andes, the deviant warcraft plunges onward. Faster, faster! We should have sighted the Inca passage by now.
We shall reach it in a moment, sire.
Somehow, in the heart of the arrogant deviant crow, is swelling knot of doubt is dangerously close to bursting into fear. Is it possible that he may be too late? They can't do it. The Eternals, for all their great mind powers, have failed to find the beacon. But suppose they trained one of their kind, sharpened his senses tenfold for the task. Why, he could. So I guess that's what they did with Icarus here. Well, they get in. I'm skipping ahead here, and they meet up with Icarus and his friends there. And, of course, a fight ensues. So Icarus takes off his MAGA hat and glasses and zaps him with his heat vision, or, eye beams, Twin beams of force leave from the eyes of Icarus. Icarus. The results are devastating. Get his eyes, use the shroud gun.
At once, sire.
The shroud gun fires a canister of whirling fiber that unfolds as it whistles ominously at top speed. Not even... Excuse me. Guys, what other voice can I do for... Oh, well, I already did one voice.
Not even an Eternal can get out of this in time.
The shroud strikes Icarus and smothers him in its folds. He struggles to free himself. So they throw a blanket at him. And try that on for size, Icarus. It's the latest in deviant technology. It's a blanket. We won. Our delay. Icarus can't see or hear. On to the beacon. Destroy it. Destroy it. It shall be done, noble crow. Suddenly, the humans rush into action.
Hold them, Father, while I help Icarus.
Don't worry, Margot. I'll pick off those deviants and have them running for cover.
Bam. Bam. Well, you got, what, 4 more bullets? Better aim good, you know. So, guess who shows up? Yeah, Big Daddy. At that moment, the entire planet seems to shake from a mighty sound which hasn't been heard since ancient times. A gigantic shadow darkens the plain where the ruins stand. Something which has shattered time and space to find a pebble called Earth now descends with overpowering majesty. So there it is. Lightning and stuff. The battle in the God Chamber is halted as quickly as it began. Shocked into silence, the combatants slowly emerge from the ruin. Too late! I've fought in vain. The gods have found us.
Icarus, I can't make it out. Is it?
What he says is true. The gods are landing. The witnesses to this event stare at what is happening, unable to absorb what this means to their lives, to the existence of all life on earth. For the gods tower over time itself. They can only be met with hushed silence. So they're all very quiet at this moment. And his neck has gone pale white. Then the silence is broken. The deviants shall fight to the last.
How can you fight what you haven't yet seen?
Well, they're looking at it right now. We shall see them now, and in doing so, learn more about ourselves than we have ever known. It is somehow fitting that representatives of Earth's 3 dominant races are on hand to meet the master image imprinted on their genes. What do the gods look like? What can they do to an unsuspecting Earth? For the sake of the gods, get the next issue. Read The Celestials from Space. So there you have it. That's how it was originally supposed to start. Make it all about, the ancient astronaut theory and stuff like that. And you have a little fight with the deviants, and then pam, pam, pam. And then we'll read part 2 next time on Mr. Nailsin Sunday Comics. Thanks for watching and listening. Say, while you're still here, why not like and subscribe and share with your many friends? Yes. Also, check out my mini stores in the link description below. Yes, where you can get t-shirts, hats, mugs, all those goodies with my artwork on them. Oh, yeah. And head over to indieplanet.com and pick up a copy of my comic book, Night Night. Oh, yeah. You can also catch me at my podcast, Mr. Nailsin Show, on RadioMisfits.com. And you can also watch my videos on BitChute.com and now on Rumble.com. Oh, my goodness. So many places to watch me and my stuff. Oh, yeah. And if that's not enough for you, well, you can follow me on many social media platforms and say hi to your old pal, Mr. Nailsin.